Hello, my friends and fellow speakers. Welcome to Speaking with the Speaker. And my Yoda took a fall here. Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda can't be down like that. I am excited about this stream. I'm always excited. So, but I'm particularly excited about this one because this is about one of my all-time favorite animes, and one that I have been interested in and followed right from the beginning. And that's why it hangs right there. It is Sword Art Online. I can't say enough good things about this anime. I mean, I love most of the animes I talk about. That's why I talk about them. But that's what we're going to be talking about today is this fantastic anime, and I will be able to tell you why. I also have a special guest. Spartan 072 has come here today to be a part of this. So let's welcome him to the stream right now. Welcome, Spartan 072. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I don't know why we're acting so formal. He's my son. but I mean, we're supposed to be professional, right? So
yeah, that totally is what we do.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. I'm always glad to have one of my kids or anybody that loves the stuff that I love. So or that doesn't love the stuff that I love. Hey, Purple Valkyrie, how are you doing? Good to see you. Welcome. And so yeah, this is so when was your first experience with this anime, Spartan?
A really long time ago. I don't quite remember. I believe me and you both started watching it together, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, and that's yeah.
I just looking for stuff to watch and was like, hey, that looks kind of interesting. Let's see what it's like.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're just floundering around for good entertainment, which is getting harder and harder to come by. And yeah, so this is one that we popped, or that we both kind of gravitated towards. So what did you like about this anime? What kind of drew you to this one?
I liked the creativity of where this whole thing kind of came from. Like, it's kind of based on like VR type gaming, and then it kind of goes beyond that, and then also kind of takes that isekai or type, where they go from one world to another world kind of thing, but not actually moving to another world, but also at the same time. And then sword fighting skills and games. Like, it takes all sorts of stuff that I like into it and put them in a very creative and different way than you'd normally expect or see.
Yeah, it's this one is really special to me because it's not trapped into one specific genre. Because of the storyline and the way this is set up, they can take this anime and go anywhere with it. They can. I mean, they can start in a medieval sword thing, which is what Sword Art Online starts as, but that's not where they have to stay. They can go to the Wild West. They could completely reset this into a completely different scene, and it makes sense. It's not like jarring, and it's just like, oh, they're just trying to cash in on. No, it's set up to be that way so that they could do that, and it makes it really interesting to follow. My Yoda's having a hard time tonight staying up. I may have to find another way of sticking him on there because, yeah, he keeps falling over. But so for those of you who aren't familiar with this anime, hey, Curtis YZ, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. This anime is about, like Spartan was saying, it's a virtual world. A guy called Akihiko Kayaba has created a virtual world and a VR system where you lay on your bed, you put this helmet on, and it basically intercepts all the nerve responses from your brain and completely interacts with your brain and puts you in a virtual world. Now, the game that it is based on is called Sword Art Online, and it basically sets you in to this world where it's all based on swords. It's all based on swords and the
medieval
idea
type weaponry.
Yeah, medieval type weaponry, and the main hero called Kirito, that's what he talks about. He says, I love the idea that I could take a sword and go as far as I want with it. The idea it's me and the sword. And I love that. I love that that whole particular way of setting this up. and it is an amazing this world, and the graphics and the visuals that they're using are very special. And I love the art style of this particular anime. They do a very good job. Like I say, you see in this poster behind me here, it's fairly detailed, but there's some fantastic shots. And I was working on a video to show you guys of just some clips before this, but I didn't get it finished in time for doing this. So hopefully I'll put that out as a video at another time, just to kind of give people a better introduction to this anime. But I've watched this anime, I don't know how many times, because it's one I can watch over and over and over, and I just don't get tired of it. And I mean, how rare is that to find that you can really glom onto a story and get something new and interesting out of it every time you see it?
It's definitely not very often you get to find a movie or anime TV series that you can just, or even like books or anything, like you can just read it again and again and again, get something new, or the story is just interesting enough that it doesn't matter if you learn anything new. You love the story despite that.
Yep. And the characters. This is a very character-driven story.
Yeah.
Now, there isn't nearly as much humor in this particular anime. It is a little bit more serious. It's more towards the style of trying to think of some of the other animes that are a little bit more serious. Like
Berserker, maybe?
Berserker. It's not violent. Like there's not like blood and gore in this one. It's not an adult anime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just more serious, and there is like shows damage, but in a different way.
Yeah, but it's very different. It's not like gore and guts and stuff. Yeah, so so you can watch this with your kids, and you can both enjoy it for what it is. But the story, there is a lot more to the story. It's a lot deeper, more emotional stuff. As where like stories like One Punch Man and stuff like that, which I'm wearing my One Punch Man shirt. They're really based a lot more around the humor aspect of things, and kind of talking about it from that point and setting the story up that way based on humor. I mean, the characters are great in those as well, and that's why I've done reviews on those. This one is more of like a really cohesive storyline. So how this starts out is Kirito, our main character, whose real name is Kazuto Kirigaya, in IRL, which you'll hear them say that a lot in this particular anime, IRL, which means in real life. He goes into this game. He starts and he meets a guy right off the bat named Klein, and he was what they call a beta tester, which anybody who's done anything with video games knows what that is. So I don't know why I made that sound like it was something special. But,
this is something you've never heard of.
Yes,
before.
you have never heard
beta
of this. Sorry, that came out wrong. But yeah, so he is a beta tester for this, and now they've launched this game in real life, and today is the first day of the launch. So everybody who got copies of this game, and there's over like 10,000 people who are in this game right off the bat, and he's one of them, and he meets Klein and kind of shows Klein what to do and how things work in this world and stuff a little bit, and gives you a little bit of an introduction to the audience through Klein of how this world works and what to expect. Well, they go through this series of things where he's teaching him, and then Klein goes to log out because he's going to have food delivered to his apartment or something. He lives alone, and he goes to log out and can't. The log out button is gone, and they're like, "Oh, that must just be a bug or something." And Kirito goes to look in his is gone. So all the log outs for all the players in this game are gone, are missing. Well, suddenly a bell starts to toll, and they're transported to the town of beginnings, which is in the area where they were originally.
It's the initial spawn area
Yeah,
for
it's the
new
initial spawn
players.
area. They can't leave this area. They're trapped there, and then the sky goes red with warning symbols, and this big, like blood type creature looking wizard character comes out of the ceiling. Let me see if I can find a picture of that guy. But he shows up and tells them that he is Akihiko Kayaba, and that they are now in Sword Art Online, and that this is the way the game was designed to be played. They are trapped. They cannot get out of Sword Art Online. All of these 10,000 plus people that are in there are trapped in this virtual world, and he designed it this way. And
formerly 10,000.
Yeah, 10,000 to begin with, and that the only way to get out of the game is to clear it, is to go level by level and escape the game. And so like everybody's shocked, and everybody's like, I can't believe this. And like, well, they'll just take the helmets off their heads. Well, if they do that, they have, like, in the helmets, there are microwave creators or whatever that will destroy their brain. So they cannot take the helmets off in the real world, and they can't get out from inside the game because their nerve impulses are being intercepted by the headgear. So like they can't just reach with their real bodies and take it off, like in like what you would see in Ready Player One. So it is just right off the bat, you are immediately pulled into this world where they can't escape, and everybody starts freaking out. Now, as part of this, because everybody's generated their own characters, he asks them to take out an item from their storage, which is a mirror. And they look into the mirror, and all of a sudden their avatar disappears and is replaced by what they really look like in real life. So now they can't fake what they look like. Who you really are is who you are in the game. So it takes a virtual world, making it almost indistinguishable from, for them, the real world, as far as what their appearance is and stuff like that. And it's just, so it kind of pulls you into this story right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Also,
what did you think, Spartan?
I'd like to point out before, also, if the player's health bar drops to 0, then the microwave or the radiation thing that'll kill them if they take it off will also simultaneously discharge and kill them in real life. So if you die in game, you die in real life. There's no respawn. There's nothing like that. It's like Dark Souls, but like worse.
Yeah. Once you're gone, you're gone. So it's go ahead.
This very opening scene is like, whoa, this is the first episode. Holy crap. They're not wasting time. They're jumping right into it.
Yeah. They go full bore right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And the world that they're in is called Sword Art Online, but it's
Ironclad.
Yeah, Ironclad is the name, and it's basically a floating castle of steel in the sky.
I think it'd be more like a fortress than a castle.
Well, that's what he calls it. That's what Akihiko Kayaba calls it, a castle in the sky. And that was his dream. From the time he was a boy, he wanted to create this castle in the sky. And it goes on to talk about this later in the story. But I'm trying to pull up a good picture of it here so I can maybe show you guys. You can kind of see it in my poster here. It's what's behind them, that kind of tapered shape. That is Ironclad. Sorry, I kept saying it wrong. Ironclad is what the world that they're in. Mm-hmm. And they're starting on floor 1. And that's where this story starts out, and you're following Kirito.
And they have to clear all 100 floors and beat the game to get out.
Right. And that's the only way to do it. It just starts off, and that's how it goes. Now, Kirito, once he realizes what's happening, he takes off on his own. He says, Klein, come on, let's go. And Klein says, I can't. I'm meeting people that I was in a clan with and stuff that I game with. I was supposed to meet them here. So I've got to go find them. So Kirito takes off and he goes running to, because I
Go
mean
to
at
the
this
next
point,
town.
yeah, he's like, I've got to try and get as much money and get as far ahead in this game as I possibly can if I'm going to survive.
Because it's like a normal MMO where as soon as resources start to run out in the opening area, then they're out.
Yeah. It's
So
like there's a finite amount of resources and weapons and armor and all that stuff. So like to get ahead, you've got to get ahead. You've got to go as fast as you can. And to me, this is like, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to see Ready Player One so much, because I thought it was going to be similar to this, which it is, and
but
isn't.
it isn't. It's more like R-type VR.
Yeah, it's the VR in Ready Player One is like you still move around and you're running on treadmills and stuff, as where in this VR it's all in your head, it's all inside your mind, like but you can't. You feel no difference, but you don't have to be moving in the real world to make. And to me, that makes Sword Art Online better. I don't know,
Yeah, personally agreed.
I mean, that's what I think of when I think of VR. Or a virtual reality world is something like that. If I'm still running in the real world and stuff like that, then
kind of takes away from it all.
Yeah, I'm not in a virtual world. I'm in a real one. So with just a headset on, and that's not, to me, that defeats that purpose. But that's what I love. It's like Ready Player One meets The Matrix. And so it is just the combination of two really great concepts into a fantastic anime with unbelievable characters. So we meet Kirito, and then later on we meet Asuna. She is one of the other characters. We eventually meet Yuki. She is someone who actually becomes Kirito and Asuna's daughter. If you haven't seen this, there will be spoilers. We're gonna talk about what's going on.
Spoiler alert.
So yeah, I mean, and trust me, even if you haven't seen this, and I give spoilers, you're gonna love getting to watch it yourself. So the spoilers really won't ruin it.
Yeah, we don't do it very good justice.
Yeah. I'm not gonna give you so much that you'll be like, well, I don't need to see that now. But to give you an overview, so we've met Klein already in the opening sequence. Within the second or third episode, you meet Egil, which he's a big black guy that's in the story, and I love him. You don't see him a lot.
No,
in this, which is kind of sad.
A side character, but he's more of a side character than a main character in the first seasons.
Yeah, he is kind of more of a side character, but he's one of the characters.
Important character.
Yeah, he sticks out to me because he's so fun. So
yeah.
So, and Curtis YZ just said they have an episode of Batman Beyond with a sort of device so you enter. Sounds a lot like what you're describing. Yeah, and that's true. I don't think I remember that episode of Batman, and I thought I'd watched all of them.
Batman Beyond is the futuristic Batman.
Right, that's the one where Bruce Wayne's old.
Yep.
But yeah, it is like that, Curtis. And that's what makes this really very cool, is that you are completely immersed in this virtual world, and that was the idea behind the Akihiko Kayaba's vision for what this was supposed to be. Later on, we meet Silica, and then you know what? I'm going to see if I can share this with you guys so you can kind of see these characters and what they look like. I think I need audio there. Okay. So there we go. I don't know how well you guys can see that. But Kirito's the one there at the top. Then Asuna, Yuki, Klein, Egil.
Yui. It's Silica. Not Yuki, it's Yui.
Oh, Yui. That's right. Pardon me. Yui. Thank you. Then we'll meet Elizabeth. Then Kayaba. He's the creator of Sword Art Online. Shigura is his sister, who isn't actually his sister in the real world.
Yeah.
That's
a later.
Yeah, that's later. That's halfway through the first season. The first season is split almost into 2 seasons. It's a little confusing, but it's really cool how they do it as well, because it's all the same story, but it takes place in 2 different games. So, but I mean, there's just like the characters, you're gonna love the characters and the acting. Of
the characters are very well done.
Yeah, they are very well done,
and
very well thought out.
You can really connect with them as well.
So I'm trying to see how many of these are okay. That's pretty much the main ones right there. Those are the ones you're gonna see a lot of. So let's go ahead and pull that back down there. So yeah, it is. I don't know how many of you in the chat have actually seen this particular anime. I don't know if it's as big, and I mean it's not nearly as big or out there in your face as like My Hero Academia and some of the other ones, but this one's a
bit older.
Yeah, but this one's still going. Like they're still making this. I've just started what is the 3rd season, which is SAO Alcization. At first, I was kind of thrown by what they're doing in that one, but it starts to make sense pretty quick. The 2nd season, and that's what I'm talking about in this game, like you move. So in the first one, they're in very much of a medieval type setting, fighting through these world, going through dungeons, doing all these different things. The second one, they are in
a fantasy world.
Alfheim, what's called Alfheim Online, which is a fairy tale fantasy game, and where they can actually fly in the game, and because of the gear, they actually feel like they're really flying. Now, I don't know how many of you, but if somebody asked me, Brian, what would your superpower, if you could pick any superpower out of any one, what would it be? Flying would be mine, because that's just one of those dreams I've always wanted, is to be able to fly. I don't know what I don't know what everybody else would pick, but
I probably wouldn't pick flying. That was like my very first option, but yeah, it's a fair enough.
Yep,
it wouldn't be bad, but I can think of more useful ones.
I guess I'm really basic. That most people will be like lasers from my eyes, and I'm just like, no. Super strength would be another good one.
Yeah,
but I mean, and so that's what's cool is you move within these worlds, and it feels very organic. So by the time you get to the 2nd season, that moves into what they call Gun Gale Online, and which is basically a kind of a modern first-person shooter type game. And there's the story running behind it is that people are being killed in game, which hasn't happened since SAO, which is the original Sword Art Online. Well, the government comes to Kirito or Kazuto Kirigaya in the real world and says, we want you to go into Gun Gale and try and help us figure out how these murders are being committed, because they shoot them in the game and they die in real life, which is supposed to be impossible based on the safeguards that they've put into place.
Because after the initial SAO, the whole thing kind of gets shut down, basically. And then a new company comes in and makes Alfheim Online, and they've got a new nerve gear that's safer than the old design. But the old design is still compatible with the new game.
Sorry, I had to cough there for a second. Didn't want you guys to have to see that. But yeah, so it is that it's supposed to be safer. It's supposed to get safer so that what happened in SAO can never happen again. And that's where that story takes you. I think telekinesis is the right. Yeah, Curtis. But yeah, it's so there's this big mystery playing out through the 2nd season. They've also done a couple of movies for this anime. The one is called Sword Art Online Cardinal Scale, and it is really good. It is really well done, and it's after what happens in the original in the original SAO first season. So and it talks about, because the ordinal or cardinal is what they call the system that controls SAO. And it's basically an AI program that decides, what creatures show up, how much money is dropped, all the details that make the virtual world work is run by the cardinal system. And that kind of comes back into play because people kind of build off of what Akihiko Kayaba did in the next games and stuff that comes without actually, using his specific stuff. But you'll have to find out more about that through the seasons. So I'm talking a lot, Spartan. So what did you think about the different seasons? What's your take on that?
I thought they were all pretty good. I mean, from the first one to the second, the first half of the first season to the second half of the first season, I thought it was transitioned pretty well and felt really fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And then going into Gun Gale, it was different, but it didn't feel out of place as a game or
Mm-hmm.
how it worked. I think how Kirito kind of advanced in the second season was a bit odd. Like, he advanced much faster and quicker than he really should have to participate in that, tournament that he participates in to help out. But all in all, it was pretty good. I personally think I like the first and second half. I like the first season the best from what I've seen. And I probably would prefer to play, if I had to choose between one of those 3 games to play, I probably would choose the Alfheim Online first.
Mm-hmm.
My go-to, because swords and magic and all that stuff, I love those. Really great. I do like the sci-fi and the medieval type stuff as well, but you see a lot of those nowadays anyway. So
yeah, the fantasy version really is kind of the best. And like I say, that first season is very seamless. It just kind of carries on. And the bad guy in the second half of the first season is so bad. I mean, he is just,
he is evil.
Yeah, he just makes a fantastic villain. And he is a villain in the real world and in the virtual world. And so his character doesn't shift there at all, but his appearance and stuff does. And so it's just,
and how he kind of presents himself to other people.
Right. And it's just kind of this, man, and that's one thing I think anime tends to do really well is the villains. Like they really kind of put a lot of thought into, because your heroes are only as good as your villains. Yep. If your villains are weak and sappy and they're crap,
their backstory is bad. It's just a general.
Yeah. Your story,
I want to be bad to be bad.
Yeah, things aren't they're not going to go like you would hope that they would go. At least in my opinion. But because would we remember Star Wars as well if it weren't for Darth Vader?
Probably not.
He's considered one of the greatest sci-fi villain, if not villains in general, of all time. And so that kind of tells you how important getting those characters right is, and it's one of the things that makes Sword Art Online really work. In the first half of the first season, there's no real villain. The villain is the world itself, which I thought was an interesting concept.
That's actually kind of interesting now that you're mentioning it. So the first one is more like PvE, player versus environment. Second one is more PvP, which they really, when you first are introduced to the game, they say it's very PvP oriented, or player versus player. And then Gun Gale would it be PvPE? I don't know. It's
kind of a mix of the two, but more of a PvP, I think.
Or maybe the second one's PvPE as well, because you got to kind of fight the world a bit. But
But
yeah,
it's
either way,
I think that's one of the things I like about the first season is that it is very much a player against the world. It is, there isn't just one overarching villain, unless you think of the villain as Akihiko Kayaba, but he's not really present. The world he created is, but he's not really, like, you don't see him, you don't hear him, he's not in the world all the time. Ultimately he becomes the villain for that first half of that first season.
but
But
that's at like the very
yeah,
end, and
but I
he
mean
gets
that's
defeated.
that's
Pretty.
something that kind of it builds up to him being the villain and stuff. So like most of the time, it's just they're fighting to survive. They're fighting to get to the next level. They're fighting to beat the next boss, and it really does incorporate that feel of a game into a. Something on my mic. Sorry, something like. But yeah, it really does incorporate that feel of a video game into a film in such a way as that it doesn't. Because I don't know about you guys, but there's nothing really more boring than watching somebody else play a game. Where you're just like, okay, this is fun. Wow, you killed that guy so totally dead. And it just, I mean, some people really love watching gameplays. I have a hard time with that. So for me, this is like the best of both worlds. You're watching a gameplay, but you're experiencing it as the character.
A lot of with watching gameplay is the person who's playing. Yeah. Is why you really kind of watch.
So, and I'm not crapping on that because Spartan does that on his channel. I don't want to be like, oh, that sucks. But there's a way of doing that. I feel so loved. Yeah. But I mean, there's a way of doing that where it is cool. But like if you're just sitting there and somebody's playing a game and they're not talking and you're just having to watch what they're doing, and it would get boring really quick. And stuff, but you're getting to live the game with these people, and so it makes it a lot more fun. But this, I just don't know if there's enough good things I can say, and I don't know if that sounds like I'm building it up too high to where it'll never be able to live up to your expectations. Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, the humor is a lot more subtle in this. There's a lot more emotion and there's a romance that happens through this. Mm-hmm. But it happens in a good way. It's like
it doesn't
the way
feel
a
forced
guy,
on you.
Yeah. It's the way a guy would do a romance versus how a girl would do a romance. So a girl would do romance like Twilight and Harlequin romance novels and other stuff like that, as where a guy is going to do a romance like they fell in love while they were punching other people in the face.
They fell in love on the it's a battlefield.
Yeah, they fell in love on the battlefield. They killed that guy so. Yeah, sorry, I walked on you. Say that again.
I'm trying to think of a good way to put it. I can't think of a good way to put it. Like love on the battlefield, basically, just the way that it's like the way they meet, and like when you first meet, they're pretty. Asuna's pretty cold to Kirito. They're strangers. They don't know each other, and he's just kind of being a player, kind of trying to get to know a new person who he's got a team with.
Yep.
And then it kind of, as they fight the first boss, it kind of evolves into more trusting and friendship because you're trusting the other person with your life. And then slowly and surely it kind of builds up into a more romantic feeling.
Yeah. Because he is very much a solo player at the beginning. He is interested only in trying to survive, doing everything he can and stuff. And then he has to team up as part of a boss fight, and he ends up teaming up with Asuna and through this fight. And then he goes right back to being a solo player. And then, he gives her a piece of advice. She ends up becoming one of the strongest players in the game through one of the guilds that they joined, called the Knights of the Blood Oath. So I love the names that they came up with for the guilds in this.
Knights they of sound the Blood totally Oath, like what
Dragon. What's the other one? The Dragon Sword Alliance or something like that. I think it is. And then the Moonlit Black Cats is another one of the the guilds that they mentioned. It's a small guild, but then they also have like Laughing Coffin, which is a murder guild, which is a PKer guild, which is a player killer guild, which is, I mean, so here they are. They're trapped in this death game where they know if they die in real life. And there's these players who are like, oh, I don't believe it. I don't think that's real. And so
they do.
Or they do, and they don't care. So it's like having serial killers trapped in the game with you, trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes sense because some players would, like, if it was a normal game, they'd be like the evil people who just kind of do it for kicks and giggles and like not actually like that in real life. They just want to kind of see what it's like, and then they still haven't quite wrapped their head around the fact that they're actually killing people and stuff. Or they have people who enjoy it.
They devolve. You know, they devolve in game. They're just like, you know, the people who would have been fairly normal had they lived their real lives. Now they're set free inside this game where they feel like I can kill people and get away with it. You know, and the darker side, it's that there's very much a psychological component to this, to the what's going on in the game, what's going on inside of the people in the game, and the characters and stuff. Like Spartan was saying, Yui is introduced as a character, and she was actually supposed to be an AI program to help look after the mental well-being of the players in SAO. And but the Cardinal system on the day of the launch, for some reason, takes her out of play and keeps her from interacting with the players to help. It was
probably to help with immersion and like you wouldn't most likely you wouldn't have someone real life always just kind of when you're head down and needing someone to help kind of lift you up to just always kind of show up and so it takes the Cardinal takes Yui out of place so that it's more realistic and people have to kind of deal with it themselves, kind of more realistic.
But it's never explained in the game or in the show. She doesn't know, and it's very much and it kind of talks about like because she's not allowed to interact with the players, but she has to sit there and watch what's happening to them without being able to help them. Errors compile within her program, and she loses her memory, which is how Kirito and Asuna actually find her, and they become a thing. And now in this game, players can get married, you can have sex, you can live as if you're in real life.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an MMO, so that's something they would have.
So yeah, it's
an option.
It's you know, because I think they can do that in World of Warcraft if I remember right.
I have no idea, honestly.
I've never played World of Warcraft. I always wanted to, but I was just like, I'm not paying that much money to play a game every month. And anyway, so but they say that you can have physical relations, you can do all that kind of stuff in game, and I thought that's you know, that's cool and creepy. I'm like, how does that work in the real world? You know, so what's happening with their real bodies when they're doing that stuff? I'm like, that could be messy.
Most likely not, since all the nerve gear, as it's called, is intercepting all
the signals,
electrical signals from the brain. So it's probably cutting all those off as well.
Yeah. Well, you would hope, because otherwise
you'd hope and kind of assume if you can't move your arms and legs, then you probably can't do any of that. None of that other stuff happens, other than like keeping your heart running and your breathing, I guess. I wonder how that actually works now that I'm thinking about it. If it intercepts all like the nerve signals, how does it disassociate from stopping the heart and stopping you from breathing?
It must be only like higher brain function. Possibly. So where your autonomic systems would not be affected. Mm-hmm. It's only affecting conscious.
I bet that was something that initially happened during testing of the nerve gear, and before they kind of worked out all those tweaks.
But I mean, that's the crazy thing is that's one of the great things about this anime is that you get to think about all that stuff. What would happen if this happened to you? You know, because we've all wondered, you know, I mean, if you've seen The Matrix, if you've seen, you know, those other kind of films, what happens to you if you're trapped in a virtual world? Because we've seen movies where people become trapped in virtual worlds, or they become so addicted to virtual worlds that they lose interest in the real world. And this kind of, it plays into that. Like, what would happen if if that was possible? If humanity, if we get to a part where technology makes virtual worlds real, where we can walk out of our normal, boring, I got to go to work today, crappy life, and walk into a virtual world where we can do anything and anything's possible, would we stay? Would we want to come back to this world? You know, or would we just want to go into the virtual world and stay there? I mean, so it opens up a lot of questions. Hail Ambassador and hail Darth Pastor. I did that last night. I am sorry, Darth Pastor. I keep doing it. I look at people's names and one thing is in my brain and something else is coming out of my mouth. And good Lord, I apologize. And be with Star and Pygmies down there in the beginning. Amen.
that sounds like a villain name, or just something someone would do as a username in a video game. That's funny.
Yeah. Sorry. Hi, Lord. I'm sorry, Darth Aster. But
I agree. I probably would stay. Screw
you know,
reality.
I mean, really, that would be a hard choice to make. What if I could create a world where I can make it whatever I want? What would be that's the danger of virtual reality and virtual worlds, is that you know, why would I want to go back to the real world when I can just make the world of my choosing? Like for me, I hate bugs. If I could make a world without bugs, I would so do it tomorrow. You know, just because they're obnoxious, not because I'm afraid of them. I just hate them. They're annoying.
They are so annoying, especially mosquitoes.
Hey, hell, Kamikaze D. Didn't see you pop in there. But yeah, it's just it really, that's one of the things that I love about anime. I love that kind of stuff. Amen, brother. Amen. By 2020 forever.
Hey, I know how to get away and be quarantined. I'll just go into this virtual reality that I suddenly have access to.
No beer virus, no elections, no politicians. I can just make this whatever I want. I mean, who wouldn't do it? But that's what is great about anime, is it gives you that. It really, for being cartoons and stuff, they really do delve into some very deep questions, and they do it in a way that makes you think about the world we actually live in. And that's one of the great things about entertainment. Is real good entertainment, is it makes you think about the world in just a slightly different way. And that's one of the reasons I got into anime, and I just stay into anime, is just because it offers up such a different perspective. Vampire Knight is another one of my favorite animes, and I love it because it shows a different. It's very traditional, and it's not like a Twilight. It's a very traditional way of looking at vampires, but with a really kind of intricate story of what, you know, of a history for vampires. Same thing with like Castlevania. I love Castlevania for the same reason. But thanks for popping in, Ambassador. Appreciate it. Have a good stream. But yeah, I don't know. It really is an interesting thing and a fun thing to think about. And anime gives us another venue for that. And it's doing what Hollywood used to do. And it is really sad that we can't expect that much from Hollywood. I mean, we're getting things like Star Trek Lower Decks and you know, the Black Widow movie that should have come out 5 years ago, except now they're just using it as a platform to introduce the new person who's going to take over for Black Widow, instead of giving us an actual Black Widow movie about Scarlett Johansson, or the character she created. And I'm just like, so, I mean, I think sooner or later, Hollywood's going to figure this out and realize, hey, what we're doing now, that's not working.
With all the money need to go back. It should be soon.
Yeah. Look, we can pray. Let us all pray. Take a moment of silence for no, just kidding. But yeah, this is something that really great anime does. And one of these times, I'm just going to have an open lines show on animes and just have people pop in and tell us like, hey, what's your favorite anime? Why do you love it? And to help other people, because Darth Haster did this on his channel, and it was great. There wasn't nearly as much participation as I thought there should have been. I'm like, God, as many anime fans as are out there, like, where is everybody? But I mean, those of us on the stream were having a blast. And thanks to Darth Haster and Butterflies and some of the other great people that were on that panel, I came away with like a list of 50 animes that I have not seen that I'm now starting to work through. And each one of them is great in their own way. Some of them I'm not like the biggest fan of. Like I tried to watch High School of the Dead, and I was just like, nope. Too many F words for no apparent reason whatsoever. And I hate zombies. I hate zombie films. I'm not into that. I struggle with that. But you know what? I'm sure for somebody that's great. There's a lot of people who like zombie movies. I'm just not one of them. So, but so I would highly, I mean, if you had to score this Spartan, what would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give SAO?
For what I've seen, I'd probably give it a 9 at least.
Okay, 9.
Because I haven't seen alts whatever it was, or I don't. What's that new season they've got? The new season. I haven't seen the latest seasons they've come out with yet.
Oh yeah. Hail Loki. Thanks for popping in. And thank you for the shout out. Yeah, we haven't had a lot of people in here, but the people we've had in here, I love you. I love you all.
Do you want me to stay quieter?
It is really fun to get to share my love of something that hasn't always been a part of my life. I did not grow up with anime. And so to now have found something, in my late 20s, early 30s that I've built this love up over time as an adult, it makes this really fun to share. And like Purple Valerie saying, Purple Valerie. Oh my gosh, this is second. Laura, I am sorry, Purple Valkyrie.
Do you want me to help you?
It must be. Maybe I'm gonna have Spartan say you guys' names tonight because I keep messing up everybody's names. And I call Darth Haster Darth Pastor. Now to Purple Valkyrie's Purple Valerie. So hey, sorry. It's been a long day. So, but yeah, Castlevania is really good. I mean, it's violence and there's some swearing. But it's and I don't mind that for a guy who's kind of overly religious. I don't mind that when it has a purpose, when it is part of the story, when there's like just mindless, idiotic violence and blood is annoying to me. I'm just like, what?
Why are we doing this?
Why are we? It's like Braveheart. I love Braveheart because it's telling the story of a historical event, in a Hollywoodized way, but like. The violence in there is based on, war isn't pretty. War is not a wonderful thing. And people need to see that, because sometimes I think we forget and we end up in a war over it because, yeah. I know. I'm sorry, Darth Haster. Or are you saying that as a possible, hey.
Hey, maybe I should use that when I go game.
Vegas SYN 333. Thanks for jumping in here. Great to see you. but yeah, so I mean, anime is really a lot of fun. Braveheart, yes, Braveheart's so good. Um, but and that's the thing is with great animes, you get to experience different stories and different perspectives.
And
Now that
sometimes
doesn't mean I hate Western culture, because that's what I got accused of a couple weeks ago. Oh, you're just a weeaboo, and you have weeaboo posters, and for that I didn't even know what that was, but now I do, unfortunately. But yes, we were talking about a scoring system. So if I had to score SAO, I would give it a 10 out of 10. And I don't do that about all animes, but this one, it really is a great anime. Um, there is a little bit of overacting in different parts of it. I will admit that, but I mean, there's a little bit of that in all anime, which is what makes
in
it fun.
all media, really.
Yeah, in all media. But yeah. Oh, and hail, Derek McManus. Welcome. Great to have you here.
Hey, you got the name right.
I used to date a lady called that. So good memories. Good memories. My sister's named Valerie. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why I put that in there. But yeah, it's for all of you who love anime. I mean, there's lots of different various reasons for loving anime, loving animation. Just like I just me because of Loki, kind of inspired me. I've loved the animated Batman series forever, but he was talking about one morning, and I'm just like, I don't have that, and I'm just like, I need to have that, and so I got it on Blu-ray, and I've been watching. And there was like episodes that I'm like, I don't remember this one. It had been so long since I'd got to see them all. So it's like rediscovering Batman, the animated series, all over again. And then I can't remember who streamed. They were talking about Justice League, it was Eris of Chaos's stream the other day was talking about the Justice League cartoons.
Oh, the
And
old Justice League?
yeah, the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited and
Oh,
some of the
those were
movies that came
good.
out. They were great. And they always reminded me kind of an anime style animation.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot, but there's some of that to them, and maybe that's why I like them so much. But I like animation, all kinds of animation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, helps
but
really
yeah.
display some of the things that a normal human body cannot do.
Yeah, and they really do a great job with that in anime, and they make it fun and funny. And you know, because it's stuff you'd never be able to put on real film. Like,
Yeah,
you'd never be able to get
like
a human to do
like
it.
the eye pop out, or the angry thing on the side of the head, the big
the big veins bulging on the sides of the heads, and yeah,
the jaw drop kind of things. Yeah, some of the facial expressions they get into anime is just like, I wish I could do that, but I cannot.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody in their head, they think that's what they would do if they had the chance. And so to actually get to see it put on film and put out there, you're just like, see, that's exactly what I would do if I could do that. If I could actually make that facial expression, I would, you know, and it just makes it a lot of fun to get to see. And you know, they do a lot of crazy stuff in anime that they don't do in a lot of other animation. Which makes it fun. Like, I always love when people get embarrassed or they're upset, they turn white and they have like these black and purple wavy lines over their heads.
Isn't that when they're depressed?
Or depressed.
or
I've seen it used for various different, you know, shows of emotion. And it comes off as a very comic or comic book type style of expressing emotion.
Usually when someone's embarrassed, you either get the really bright cheeks or their whole face turns red, like, oh.
yeah, Derek, I'm 46, so it's happening more and more. So yeah, I and you know, I hate it because I'll be talking about a movie that I love and I will forget the character's name, and I'm like, I would
I hate that.
on video, I wouldn't have a problem remembering this, but because I'm in front of people talking about this, my brain just went completely vacant. It's like, what was the name of that guy in Star Wars that had the green lights? You mean Luke Skywalker? Yeah, him. He's the one I was thinking about. So
I'm terrible with names.
It's terrible. But anyway, so we're coming up on our hour. Thank you all for being here. I highly recommend you go watch this anime. It is really great. You can find it on Hulu. I think it might be on Netflix as well right now.
Not sure.
But the
It's on
English
Crunchyroll.
versions are on Hulu. You can definitely go find it on Hulu. I rewatched the first and second season this last week. But yeah, it doesn't get any better. But yeah, so it's just it is really worth it. You'll never hear me put out an anime that I would think is a waste of your time. So give it a chance, give it a shot. If you don't like it, let me know why you don't like it. If you like it, tell me what you loved about it. You can leave that in the comments because I leave my live stream videos posted because I'm always interested in other people's perspectives for, the whys and the hows of what they found entertaining and what they thought was cool, because that's what leaves us open to those discussion and makes things great in fandom and keep things positive.
And maybe they remember something we know. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No,
we're trying to. And maybe you also know something we forgot to talk about that you really liked, and we just forgot to talk about it.
Yep. And that's what makes fandom great, is that we don't have to agree. We can all think something's cool or not cool for different reasons, but just being respectful and caring that we talk about what we love, which is really what this is all about. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Spartan, my son, for being on tonight and guest host or co-hosting this with me. And we will talk to you next week. Next week, I put my list down somewhere.
Did you misplace it again?
I misplaced something. Imagine that we're just talking about old people forgetting stuff. Hang on, let me put that so I can go. Oh, all right. I found it. I found it.
Man noises.
Yeah. I can't stop making those. So next week we are going to possibly. So I'm of two minds. It's either going to be one of these two things, and I will let you guys know later this week. It's either going to be Pirates of the Caribbean and those films and why they went terribly wrong at the end, in my opinion.
No.
Because I loved all of them till the last one, and then the last one I was just like,
really?
But yeah, they were terrible. It's either going to be that, or we're going to do Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is such a good book. One of my all-time favorite books. I listen to it on audiobook all the time, and if you have not heard that on audiobook, I would highly recommend you go get it and listen to it for next Sunday if you want to be on or participate, or if you love that book and want to be on the panel with me. I would love to have you to have other people's takes on such a great book and a great author. It's very British in its humor, and I love it. Having lived over there, I love the British humor. Sarcastic, witty, fun, different way of looking at life. It is just great. So I think that's probably what we'll end up doing, and then we'll move the Pirates of the Caribbean back to the next Sunday. But so plan on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and then we will go from there. Thank you for being here, and we will talk to you next time. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.